All right, folks, welcome to the live stream. We are going to go Renegade today with the Renegade Butcher. We got Josh on. Josh, who or what is a Renegade Butcher?
Hey, how you doing? I'm just a guy in Texas that got into butchery about 9-10 years ago and learned a ton about it. Been a long time listener of the Survival Podcast. Found Nicole's show from there and kind of led me down the path of getting into homesteading, learning butchery, stepped out on my own, did some mobile processing for a while. Now I'm kind of in the business of teaching people how to process themselves. So
would you tell us sort of the Cliff Notes version of why, instead of having a mobile butchering unit, you have decided that you are a better instructor on people's homesteads?
Well, for the moment right now, the state of Texas is admittedly, even according to some state inspectors, one of the toughest states to get licensed as even a custom exempt butcher in the United States. We're the only state in all 50 that require you to do at home, even if on site, to do all of your skinning in an enclosed insect-proof area, unless it's specifically for your own consumption. So if you do it from a mobile side, you actually have to bring a tent or have some sort of transformer type box that encloses things once you do the slaughter. It's expensive. It's difficult. Some people got into it fairly early when there was no regulations on mobile slaughter and kind of told the state you can write the rules. So they wrote the rules that apply to standing establishments. We have an uphill battle to make it work here. So I don't have $500,000, but what they can't right now do is restrict me from teaching, from instructing. So there's no license to do that. And I help people process their own right now. And, when I actually keep up with it, I've been terrible lately. I do so through the podcast as well and try to use some internet instruction.
Yeah, the problem is you can do computer coding too, right?
A little bit. I'm not going to call myself a coder. I do a decent bit, but mostly my own stuff and some side projects. But I'm still learning as I go.
Well, I've spent some time in the Rogue Food Network, which is an event, the Rogue Food Conference is put on by John Moody, and Joel Salatin's always there.
Oh, yeah.
And I think about you when I think about them because they talk about sort of legal loopholes for getting stuff done. And something I figured out is with meat processing, I can do a class and you can go home with your animal that you processed. And there's not a lot anybody can do about that, at least in my state. But you do need to look even at that.
It does depend state to state and sometimes county to county. So you do want to do your research because it can vary, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. But I don't know of anywhere where if I take venison and hand it to you and say Merry Christmas, I'm not allowed to do that. It's just that it becomes very, very dangerous.
It just
when
depends
instead of me handing it to you and saying Merry Christmas, I hand it to you and say that'll be $8.95 and then you give me money. Because that's totally different, right?
I think I'm back.
Yeah, you froze a second. Yeah.
Yep.
So
my internet might do that occasionally. It's usually not too bad, but this time of day.
Yeah, I just upgraded the fiber too, and I don't know how stable my fiber is, but
I wish I had fiber, but I'm still on 4G. It's pretty good, but this time of day, people are getting off work, so sometimes it gets a little.
I was making the sarcastic observation that it's very safe for me to say Merry Christmas for the venison, but if I say that'll be $8.95, and you give me money, it has suddenly become a toxic waste product that might kill you.
Absolutely. It's crazy. It's completely bizarre, but it's because they want to regulate and control the food supply as much as possible. And the easy way to do that is to centralize it. If we have it in a handful of packaging plants that have all the money to pay us all we need to, we can control and regulate it there. But it's really, really hard to tell people that you have to depend on us when they do this in their backyards. So if we make it really hard for people to do it in their backyards or rely on the local guy, you have them over a barrel. So that's what I transitioned to being the local guy, and then found out how hard it is legally to be the local guy, and figured the best I can do really at this point is teach everybody to be their own local guy.
Yeah. And what's in Texas, because that's where you are, what happens if I raise a pig in the holler, and the holler is in Texas, and all my neighbors throw their scraps over the fence, and on pig processing day, we process it and everybody goes home with some.
I mean, technically it would be illegal if you if they were not a They have to both be a resident of the land where the processing happened and be a part owner of the animal. We
Okay.
thought that the resident of the land itself, that only one was going to fly, and it probably would before like a judge. But I had one of two enforcement officers from the state health department in the state of Texas talk to me, and he goes, "Look, I can understand because as soon as he shows up, I've got, all the paperwork right there. I have the whole state statute on the thing highlighted over the personal use exemption section." He goes, "I know you're going to say personal use exemption, and I understand where you're coming from, but I'm going to tell you how we're going to enforce it." So that's the battle we're in. It's like
I've got to go to the corner of the three properties, put a table up on that property where different pieces of the pig.
You're right, maybe, something stupid like that. But 90% of the time, if somebody's got friends, family member, or whatnot, nobody's going to really ask that many questions. If you're giving it to family, you're giving some to your neighbors or whatnot. It's just when you try to do it as a business and you go out and you advertise a service, suddenly you get attention. That's the other thing is, you can probably get away with, and nobody will probably ever raise an issue because it's complaint based. Usually somebody has to call it in. What I do tell people is, if you're not sure, even if you think maybe it would be okay, don't post everything on social media. Don't post pictures of I'm doing this potentially not legal thing and selling meat if you're not sure 100% and have the approval of the state, because they actually have entire branches of most of these state agencies that just scour social media. They have nothing better to do than spend your tax money to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. We have a little bit better meat situation here where I can sell whole animals. They don't have to be USDA processed.
We can get away with custom exempt here, which is they own the animal before slaughter and whatnot.
Yeah.
However, the state does still require a certain amount of housing on the facility itself for that to happen.
Yeah.
And every state is different. The state decides custom exempt how they want to set the Kyle, who we're going to have tomorrow night on your show, where he's in New Hampshire and he has almost no regulations on custom exempt.
Speaking of that, you guys are not talking enough smack to each other.
Oh yeah, we do need to talk a little bit more shit.
You haven't talked any, and you need to start throwing down the gauntlet because I think that'll get people interested in what you're gonna. Let's talk about that a little bit. We'll talk about tomorrow night too.
Yeah. Well, that's that just kind of started off as this kind of good-natured ribbing each other. He started following my podcast. I encouraged him to get into doing some of his own, and he kind of fired it off. He's doing really well with it. He has way better video content than me. He's got the spot to do it.
He's good with video.
He's got some really good stuff. He's doing very well with it, and I'm proud of the man. But we just, of course, talk back and forth, kind of good-natured, rib each other, give him some shit. He'll probably whoop my ass because he's got way more daily practice sitting there in his shop working. But I like a challenge. So we kind of threw it out there that, at SRF, which we both are planning on being at, we'd like to do some processing, probably maybe a pig breakdown. We're still planning out the details. Maybe we can throw some kind of a class together where we can do more of an intricate cut breakdown for a handful of people. We'd like to be able to maybe put some on some plates while we're there. And it'd be fun to have 2 side by side, or if we had somebody else involved, 3, whatever, and just kind of show our individual ways, methods of breaking it down, maybe see who's faster. Everybody can come up and see the results of it. I almost guarantee you everybody, cutter or not, will learn something from watching other people work.
So this contest, you're going to figure out, is it who can break it down the fastest in specific cuts? Is it the quality of the cuts?
I'm not sure. I think
panel of judges. What are we doing?
I think maybe we need a panel of judges. Maybe we need a grading system too. We need to be all right, you have so many points for speed, but you also have points for quality for whatever. I don't know. We do need to sit down and figure that out. I've been, and that's totally my fault with everything going on with me. I've been a little AWOL on social media the last couple of weeks, so I'm catching back up. I'm getting back in the loop. So
I've got a problem with Nostr not working for me right now that I've not figured out. So I either posted 14 times that we are going live on Nostr or 0 times. I'm not sure today, but it kept not showing up, and I was like, I think it's not posting.
What client were you using?
That was on Snort. I have, what happened is my phone broke.
Oh.
And I'm on a different phone, and I haven't remembered how to make Albi talk with my app on my Android, which I can't remember,
right.
Amethyst or whatever.
Yep,
And
yep.
I haven't taken the 10 minutes because it's probably 10 minutes to go find the little bookie with all my little things on it.
And it'll probably change slightly since the last time you did it.
Yeah, which is fine. And I just gotta, I haven't even tried. Like, I literally haven't tried. So I can read Amethyst feed on my phone, but I can't post because I'm not willing to put my private key in Amethyst because that's why I use Albi.
Okay, right. Yeah. If you get stuck, just send me a message.
I will.
I'll try to,
I reached out to Brian at Lots Project, and he was like, "You need to integrate Albi," and I'm like, "Okay, great." Great, I forgot how, and then you guys made a really good step-by-step video that I can't find. So like literally all I need is the step-by-step video link, and it may have changed a little bit, but I'll still figure it out.
It's probably still workable, but yeah, it's crazy how fast stuff like that won't be relevant because it changes so quick.
So I know you're the Renegade Butcher, but you're also super like Brian, that was a while ago, and you gave me the answer to the question I asked, and I did not ask a follow-up question about a link to your video, so you did not drop the ball. I was like, I'm too busy to watch that video anyway, so I am not going to ask for it right now.
Brian's like, I swear I didn't abandon you. Don't make me sound
He did not. He did not. He's really good. It all is 100% me because we've had a series of family illnesses and deaths in the background, and so I've been a little bit like, I've managed to get content out and I'm happy, and I've managed to get my coffee orders shipped, but I have not been doing extra credit.
You've done better than me. Awesome.
I've not done extra credit. Well, I'm not actually speaking to anybody on on Nostr, which is a better social network than any of the other ones I'm on. The other thing is, and so I'm going to go back. Brian is friends with Josh. So Brian from the Lots Project and Josh the Renegade Butcher. Those guys are really good friends, and they're fun to have on a live stream together because they kind of have this.
It gets interesting.
They have this energy that works, and they have gone all in on emerging technologies for decentralized social networks. And you're playing with AI a lot too, right? Or no?
I fiddle with it a good bit. I mean, I do a good bit. Yeah, not a ton. But.
And cryptocurrency. So I've taught. So like the Lightning Network and stuff like that is super cool, and there's so much that can be done with it. So that's why, guys, we just went from killing animals to talking about decentralized social networks. And to me, what's interesting is the intersection between homesteader and like learning all these heritage skills, which, like, rightly so, can be framed as old timey things. With ultra modern, people are kind of afraid to touch it, sorts of things.
Well, yeah, I've always kind of lived on that little cutting edge type thing. But I mean, I grew up in a fairly conservative, kind of odd homeschooling family. But I was I didn't go to public school. I didn't get socialized as much as a kid as I would like, but I grew up kind of on the internet. Like about the time I was 8 was when we first got our first computer that could connect to dial-up. And I kind of learned coming up through that. I didn't. We had a private little library of stuff I could read, and I ran out of books, so I started playing with the internet. And it was an arms race between my parents and me, who could censor the internet enough to keep me sheltered enough. But I've always kind of just been that nerd learning that, to the point where I had like a Rubbermaid tote full of old toasters and gadgets and everything that broke, and I'd take them apart for parts just to learn about it. And I went to school for electronics because I got into ham radio as a teen. Thought that's what I wanted to do. Did it for a couple of years and realized it wasn't fun as a job anymore. But I've always kind of kept that interest as a hobby, as something to just do. I love technology. I love learning something. I love the mental challenge. So sometimes I go down a rabbit hole. I get an idea on something that's coding or learning a new thing, and I jump in. Noster's been one of those rabbit holes for me. Certain types of web programming, all kinds of stuff like that. And I think more recently, butchery has become that rabbit hole for me. Like, it was something that I'd never really done much with before. And when I had the opportunity to do it and realized I had some kind of innate skill there, like old things I used to know played in, I learned it really fast, and it was just addictive. So that's how I am until I reach a point where I feel like I'm bored. And I think the only thing that keeps me going with butchery is that being able to teach other people and be in different situations, helping them solve problems, keeps me engaged. Otherwise, I just run out of stuff.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm the same way. Like, I am in the middle of going down the rabbit hole of learning how to spin fiber.
Yeah, something I never played
And
with, but
it's something I've always wanted to do my whole life.
right.
And I messed with drop spindles 25 years ago, and I sucked at it, and it wasn't fun. And the person teaching me wasn't really teaching me. And I ended up like putting it away, and I was like, until I get a spinning wheel and that. And then like 3 years ago, I bought a spinning wheel that I've never used.
Yep.
And it's an old antique one that needs work, which is why. And so I gave it to somebody to help repair it. They didn't, because they were in the middle of a busy time. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to start figuring this out. And I go to Paul Wheaton's and I learn how to spin on a spinning wheel. And in the interim, somebody from our community who lives in Cookeville taught me how to spin on a drop spindle. And it was like, it all clicked. Backwoods Butcher's in the house.
I see him. I see him down there.
Yeah. And so I loved it. Like, I couldn't stop spinning. And then I came home and bought a different spinning wheel. And now I'm gonna get rid of the antique one. But I figured out that it actually worked the whole time. It's just, it jiggles.
Learning how to do it right. Well, you had to learn.
There's some repair needed because it's loose where the bobbin spins, basically. The shuttle is jiggly, which isn't good. So,
but you had to learn the science and the mechanic behind why it works before you could understand why it wasn't working for you. So that's why using the different equipment helped.
Yeah, well, so like getting an actual spinning wheel that works, that's a really good beginner spinning wheel. Yeah, all of it. So,
well, if your stuff's all broken and not working right from the get-go while you're trying to learn, you're never going to know why it's not working. You're just going to be frustrated.
Yeah. It's 100% how that happens. So, but it's funny because like I compare that with, I also today learned how to use an AI tool to analyze my videos and make my shorts for me.
Oh, see, now I need to find out what you're using for that.
Hopefully I have an affiliate link soon, but
nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, but yeah,
That's
no,
awesome.
Toolman turned me onto it.
Paid service, or
you can free trial it for your first 35 minutes of video that it analyzes.
Gotcha.
And then and it's Opus.
But
and
if you're doing a lot of shorts, it's probably worth the price.
It's not that much a month. And I was also looking at one called Get Munch, which I think I should have been able to do a video there and see how it worked. Like they say, click here to remove the watermark, but I can't figure out how to get it started. And it just, every time I click on anything on their system, it wants me to pay money. And I'm like, listen, I just need to do it one time.
I need to see it works before
I give you $50. And the answer is, and the starting point for that is $50. And that's fine. Like that would be worth it if it works. So it's not a question of the money, but I just couldn't. And I don't know if I like clicked on something and messed something up, but yeah. So then I used Opus, and it was like 15 minutes. It had all these, it gave me like 30 shorts to choose from. And I chose 3 this morning and programmed them to go out. And I was like, yeah, you guys just earned my money.
Yeah, no kidding. Because I mean, if that's something that saves you probably 10 hours a week and just editing and clipping stuff, that's huge.
Well, editing and clipping stuff that I don't get done.
Right. Exactly. You're getting more done than you would otherwise. But even if you spent the time to save the money, you'd be paying yourself less than minimum wage.
Yeah. And
that's when it's worth paying.
It's totally worth the money. I was about to, like, I had at one point tried to pay somebody to do shorts for me, and they just like, you can't do shorts for me unless you listen to my stuff.
Yeah.
And then I don't really want to pay hourly for you to listen to my stuff and then do the shorts. And I know that's like unreasonable. I get it. But
it is, but it is. Yeah.
It is, but it isn't. But if like you're listening to it anyway, you can be like, oh, this and that. And then, okay, clock is on. I'm going to go back and find those places in the podcast that I thought were awesome.
Oh, well, yes. Kyle down there's a masochist. He says he loves editing. He also likes building fence. So he's definitely a masochist.
Yeah, that's how he and Tactical will totally get along.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have said that. They're going to have like 3 miles of fence for you to put up when you.
No, he's going to be, well, so you're going to win the butcher contest because he's going to be.
He'll be putting up fence. Nice.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Oh man, I got to do 2 pigs now. What? No kidding.
You don't want to do 2 pigs in one day? We did 4 in one weekend here. 4 big pigs in one weekend. Man. I just about wanted to die.
I'm sure. No, we've been talking about it a little bit off and on in some of the groups, and people keep coming up with fun ideas. They're like, what if we did it? What if instead we did like 12 lambs? And I'm like, look, this sounds fun, but I also, if I take a break from butchering to come to a festival, I'd like to go to the festival, not just work the whole time.
Oh, Lots Project says he's looking at Jasper also. Well, I just paid for Opus because I loved it. I will totally check out Jasper as well. But it's just the other thing that's
feedback from both of y'all on how you liked it before I choose which one.
No, I mean, I would, yeah, right. Well, that's a good idea. And I don't know. It's just like to do well on social right now, you're supposed to do on the short video content 3 to 4 in the morning and 3 to 4 in the afternoon.
Okay.
And that's a lot.
Yes.
And, you know, when I look at, like, I'll get up and I'll shoot a video in my kitchen, all jiggly and whatever about what I'm doing in the kitchen or canning or out on the land. And then I come back in and I have coffee and I have a tool that auto generates captions. Then I have to fix the captions because they have typos. And then I output it and you have to make a description and do your hashtags and all that stuff. And so that's half an hour to 45 minutes for every video I make. Okay, now let's multiply that by 4 in the morning and 4 in the afternoon.
So that's twice a day.
A day.
And if you don't pre-schedule them, then you're up at 2 in the morning messing around with it.
Right.
So you've got to nail the scheduled post. So you're just going to fail eventually. You can't keep that up forever.
No.
12 hours apart. It's just not going to happen. At the end of the day, that's what happens. It doesn't go out.
Right. It just doesn't. Yeah. And so, and then every system has a different scheduling opportunity or option. Yep. And, scheduling on TikTok, super easy. Scheduling on Instagram sucks.
Yeah, I've not tried it on Instagram. No, I think the best way to do it, if you can, and this will get you like 70% of platforms if you set it up with the right plugins, is make your stuff be a WordPress post, schedule the post, and have it auto-populate the social media from the post. If you can set up that funnel, then you're doing one thing, and then you have like 1 or 2 stragglers you got to do.
Yeah, but if you don't customize your content to the social platform, it doesn't do as well, which is why I'm not doing that.
Because then you need custom hashtags for each one. So it's how much do you want to put into it.
Yeah, and then the size of the video is different. So the size of my I haven't nailed that one yet. I'm just, I have awkward clipping and cutoffs on different ones.
I try, and then I get frustrated with it, and I don't do it, and that's my problem. So I need to get back on the horn of getting back. I'm so behind. You know how terrible it is when you take a break from it for a minute. It's like you start from zero. You lost all your momentum. So it's like 10 times harder getting it going again. I was doing daily TikToks. Yeah, I slacked.
You slacked.
I slacked, but
Backwoods Butcher's kicking your ass on TikTok.
Oh, I know he is. He should. He's doing more content, but no, it's what I told him a while back when they were starting to get going. I was like, I'll tell you from experience, and I'll do it again. If you slack off and you take a break, gaining that momentum back that you lost is going to be harder than you think. You've just got to keep up with it. It's consistency, but we all do burn out eventually.
Yeah. So, well, and there is a point where you have to take care of yourself. So let's talk about that. So you've been really busy. You've slacked. You are trying not to burn out. Like, tell us, what are you doing? What are you doing about that?
Just trying to keep back up with it. A lot of it is the heat here in Texas. It's thrown my hours off. It's been so hot during the day. Half the stuff that I've been doing that's been computer stuff, I've ended up doing overnight, which is kind of backwards. Realistically, I should be getting up at 3 in the morning and starting when it's coolest, working, and then crashing throughout the evening or something, but I haven't been doing that. My bad. But on top of that, I've also been just running around doing a lot of odd side stuff. I've been doing some coding stuff when I have the time, been doing some private instruction type stuff. This is a weird time of the year for me. Deer season, it's like really consistent and super busy. And then in the heat, nobody really wants to do anything. So if you got guys that have walk-in coolers and stuff, we may want to do a few things here and there and space it out, but there's a lot of odd downtime and shifting. So I should be working more on my seasoning projects type stuff, which I fell behind on. It's just one of those you're getting out of your sync. Yeah. So it's been over triple digits here for like the last 3 months, like for highs. So
it's been absurd. I keep sending Jack Spirko and his buddy David screenshots of my weather because we're in the
Kyle's
80s.
Like that too. Kyle's talking about, he's like, it's like 50 something degrees out tonight. And I'm like, you just screw you. Really, screw you. I was like, so last night was the coolest night we've had since back in May, and it was 70 degrees. So it felt great this morning. It's 102 outside right now, but to let my air conditioner catch up, because like the room I'm in right now, I killed the air conditioner so it's not so loud in the background. It's fine right now, but it's about 85 in here. And it's
so you're gonna die.
It feels really cool compared to if I walk outside, you know. But there's been times where I can't get this room below 90 degrees at like 6 o'clock in the evening when I'm usually doing my show. So, and the sad part is you walk in, that 90-degree air blowing on you still feels cold when you came in from outside, even in the shade. So
even in my house, like I like my house at 68 degrees. I will confess. And then it's great 90 something. Well, my house at this time of year, it's like I say that I like my house at 68 degrees. But this time of year, that would probably feel I acclimate a little bit, so it's more like 75 in my house right now.
Right.
Probably. And that's fine, because if I go outside and sweat my butt off and walk in here, I'm like, oh, it's cooler in here.
Right, that's nice. You can appreciate it, right?
But my AC can't keep up in my house. So that's like once I get the floor joists all replaced this year and the drywall done and the little bathroom in, then I start saving up for the AC upgrade for my house. I'm like, if I really am having a hard time, I can go out to the roasting shack, and it has a mini split, and that was given to me by somebody who I really appreciate them giving it to me. And man, that's the place to be if you are dying.
Right.
It's like a little room with a mini split.
Oh, that's the perfect place. Like, so my central AC has been out for a couple of years, and it's one of those, it would probably cost it more to either get repaired or recharged than it would to get a new unit.
Yeah.
So it's but realistically, when I'm home, the only time that it really matters is I want the bedroom air conditioned so I can sleep at night, and that's where the cats stay. And then when I'm doing my office stuff, I picked up one of the portable air conditioners that does this end. And I honestly spend less because I'm not trying to air condition the whole house when I'm using most of it.
Yeah.
But this is not a mansion here. This is a manufactured home. So the insulation's like 2 inches thick in these walls. You know, there's not much.
Red Flyer Media wants to know what part of Texas you're in.
I'm on the southeast side. I'm kind of about halfway between Houston and Dallas. So I'm on the humid end. I've got right smack dab in the middle of Sam Houston National Forest.
Yeah.
Yep.
And do you have a spouse?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. I'd forgotten. So your spouse has to put up with the AC.
I just don't really right? I just don't put everything out on social, but usually works out pretty well shift-wise.
Okay. So not only do you have a spouse, you have an understanding spouse who shares your goals.
Mostly.
We'll go with
that. Mostly.
Yeah. Understands why we haven't bought a new AC unit yet anyway. But yeah, that's part of that.
Yeah, it's just one of those. Thankfully, the bedroom does stay pretty dang cool.
That's
it's just one of those. You know, this year I actually decided to retrofit this other room as I'm like, it needs to be that at-home workspace. Didn't really make a lot of sense for a while because I couldn't get solid internet at the house, so there's not much I can do. Kyle, there's not much I can do. It's you, buddy. It's you. No, anyway, sorry. There's not much I can actually manage to pull off from home when I didn't have decent internet as far as work went. So when I was doing the podcast originally, even just a year ago, I was going and grabbing public Wi-Fi to make it happen. You know,
I remember you were coming over your phone in the car. Yeah.
Right. Or I'd have the laptop on like one of those little steering wheel desks sitting right there. Yeah. But it worked out pretty well. However, it's just we couldn't get cable, fiber, anything like this, even anywhere near on the road. So it just wasn't an option. And doing like 4G internet, everybody who says unlimited, it's not really unlimited.
Not unlimited.
Not really. They're only truly unlimited anywhere around was T-Mobile, and there was no coverage here. So thankfully, in the last like 6 months, while I was trying to deal with some of this, somebody gave me a tip. And they're like, "Hey, dude, they just like recently really expanded their network. They're like, I'm in Texas in the middle of nowhere. You might want to check it out." And I was like, "Oh, okay, fine." Went and found out I have like 4 bars of freaking 5G here in my house from all of a sudden out of nowhere from T-Mobile. So
yeah, you're like T-Mobile. It is.
I was like, oh, well, okay. So I switched over, ended up saving me probably like $45-$50 a month on my cell phone with getting home internet. So it may not be the greatest in the world, but it lets me live stream. So like now I can set up the home office type stuff.
Can you do Starlink there?
I think I could, but Starlink is so damn expensive.
It's expensive.
And it still has its hiccups. Even when Brian was out here, like just a stone's throw from me, it's like every, 15, 20 minutes, there's just like a pause and a freeze.
It's like
just,
yeah. Yeah.
Right. And we're technically right where I'm at, not in the coverage area, but it still kind of works. We're like that fringe zone.
Yeah.
So I'd pretty much have to almost get the like the travel, pay more for the RV style that I could be portable, or they wouldn't actually give it to me for my address because it's technically outside of a service zone.
Oh, I see.
And it's a lot. It's like $600 for the equipment, like $150 a month.
Yeah.
So it's a lot.
Yeah, I have a neighbor who has it, and it's great because we're on fiber, and his is up when ours is down, and ours is up when his is down, sort of thing.
Nice.
And I was like, we got to figure out how to mesh this.
You got a redundancy, right? What you need is like a router in the middle that's like a shared network. You can just like port between. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we have a mesh network for my internet and the internet at base camp, but we haven't tapped the other person in, and I don't know how that works. What we don't have is a bridge situation where we're transmitting to different properties, which is a little bit different setup. So I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it. Like right now, if the internet goes out, then I have to run up the hill with my computer.
Are they close enough that you could run like a cable up through some trees or something?
I mean, it's not really.
No, okay. Because you could just be like, oh, that sucks. We're out. Unplug one, plug the other end.
Yeah, I know that would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm ever trenching, I'll totally do that. That's a good idea. Right. But it's a long run. Like it's hundreds and hundreds of feet.
Yeah. If you ever have a reason to run conduit or something, definitely just run some like Ethernet cable up through there.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh.
And then, of course, Brian knows they have mesh for Starlink.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure they do. I mean, you could have mesh on really any network if you set it up, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to do that originally years ago instead of setting up like trail cams and things like that, even just for watching deer. I was like, I would rather just set up a Wi-Fi mesh network and have just cheap like outdoor cameras on a battery set up, and I could get like notifications and stuff. But it never made sense to do it until I actually had internet so I could access it from not at home.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't live in front of my TV watching the security cameras. I'm not that person,
Right. Yeah. Same. No, I got cameras that notify me on my phone wherever I am, just like my probes in my freezers.
Are those the cell phone network ones, or do they connect to your Wi-Fi?
They connect to my Wi-Fi. They're Yo-Link, and they can be up to a mile away from my hub, except for not here because we have hills here. And if my internet goes out, I get a notice on my phone that my internet went out, so I can ask the question. And if my power goes out, my internet goes out. But the probes in the freezer still are tracking data. So when it comes back on, I can go back and see, did it spike up too much? So, it does what I need. Like somebody's like, I don't like it because it doesn't work if the internet goes out or the power goes out. And I'm like, listen, I know that something happened, so I know to call and ask for a power outage check.
Right.
And then if I'm out of town, and what I really need is I need to know before it's a problem. So I have it set to go up like 22 degrees. So it's like, why are you 22 degrees? That's way higher than you're supposed to be, Mr. Freezer. And then there's a chance before stuff is defrosted. So
you could always plug that hub into like a UPS, like a universal power source or whatnot, and get you 4 or 5 hours with the power out too. Now you'd know that your sensors weren't reading anymore for your freezer and whatnot, so you know those were dead. You'd know your power was out. But I mean, if it mattered.
Yeah, I don't. So I want the notice that it has gone off Wi-Fi.
Right.
Because that tells me the power's out when I'm out of town, and then I can.
Because it'll send you an email or a text. Yep.
So if the centralized system does not receive a message from my hub, which means that the power's out or the internet's out, it says we can't reach your hub.
Nice.
And that's actually, I actually need it to do that. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. As soon as something bad happens within like 5-10 minutes, I'm sure. Yep.
And then my internet is out after 2 hours here if the power's out in the area. So because their backup lasts 2 hours.
Makes
Ask me
sense.
how I
Makes
know.
sense. That's how long the batteries are on the cell tower. Or
Right,
or
exactly.
the
It's a
fiber optic
switch
outlet.
right down the hill. I don't know since we
Right.
got fiber how that changes, but yeah.
Somebody run a generator down the hill. Let's keep
Can
plugging that on.
I have the key? Screw it. I'll use bolt cutters.
How do I backfeed into this? Come on. Oh, that's great. But hey, the things we have to figure out when you live in a rural area, we take this stuff for granted. Like if you're in town and everything goes out, oh my gosh, major disaster, but there's not much you can do. That's how people think. But this stuff happens fairly regularly when you're out in the country,
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you're going to have power outages. Right now, I get like a brownout once a day. It's just that hot. Everybody's running their AC. 3:00, power flickers for a second. It's going to happen. I just replaced the breaker because every time it flickered, the one breaker tripped and it was annoying.
You need an EMP shield.
I probably do, but I don't think it doesn't really stop the power fluctuation itself. It does even the spikes out a bit.
It evens the spikes out. So I understand when you don't have enough power, like that is what it is. But
right. It was one of those. When there's just one breaker, and I'm like, okay, this breaker's at least 15 years old. It's time for it to go. So I replaced it, and no problem since. But I was like, well, I guess it's good. I knew that one was getting weak before it actually failed.
Yeah.
There was no question. But yeah, just little stuff like that. Or who gives you internet when your power's out? Guess what? You don't have it. You are your internet. You aren't hooked up to the cable anymore. We don't think about that though. The other side is if you're on a well and you don't have power, if you don't have a backup system, you don't have water.
Correct.
Yeah.
We just fixed that here.
Nice.
I put a solar system and a battery bank on my guest cabin, and the guest cabin electricity runs the pump house. So
good.
We sized it to run off batteries that recharge by the sun. And if the sun is not working, it will automatically switch and pull off the grid.
Nice. Really nice. So that should give you at least a good 24, 48 hours, I bet you, of water.
I mean, it'll run in perpetuity. So if
as long as you got sun, I mean, if you're not in the dead of winter and you're not getting any solar exposure, you should be good.
Yeah, if it's not snowed in. And then if it is, I can plug a generator in. So then I know.
Right.
We got to plug the generator in. So but what we did not put on the solar system. I think the fridge is on there, but there's an electric stove not on there.
Yeah.
The water heater's electric. It's not on there. So
too much current.
The next upgrade there is adding propane to that building and switching the things that you can heat with propane, or that you like. It doesn't make sense to heat with electricity. It does not make sense to heat water with electricity, and it does not make sense to cook with electricity. So
not when you can do something else. No, I wish I had propane out here. I miss, because growing up north, I grew up like Iowa, Illinois. We everywhere had natural gas. Like there were pipelines all over the place. Every house had natural gas. Man, I miss that. Come down here, almost everybody's all electric. Some people have propane, but that's because you have a propane tank and you get it refilled and you have a contract and it's a pain. It's usually expensive and it's not worth it, especially if you've got all electric appliances. But man, I miss an open flame when you're cooking on the stove.
Yeah, I love that.
It's just not the same. So
it does not do as well. And
no, I actually find myself going outside and using like the gas grill more often just to cook. I mean, even if it's hot out, I'm like, well, it's hot inside. So
yeah. Well, if you cook outside, you don't get the heat inside.
Exactly. Don't mind the geese are really chatty outside, apparently.
That's okay.
Yeah. They want it on the show too.
Yeah. I mean, unloose the goose, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I have an outdoor kitchen that I usually use, and this year I've been not using it, which probably is causing the redneck who worked really hard to make me that outdoor kitchen. He's probably going, dang it, we put that together and now she's not using it. But it's because there's so much clutter out there.
I know.
So,
I've wanted to do that too.
Inside. Yeah.
That's been on my long-term goal, but probably one of those goals that who knows if they'll happen. I wanted to put an outdoor kitchen off the backside of the house, but do it right, smooth concrete with floor drains, actual cabinets, big like commercial style sink, brick pizza oven, just do it right and build it out so you can just wash it down, like it's just like process a deer or something out there, not worry about it being inside. But
yeah, mine's more rudimentary than that. My countertop is stained wood, which is actually what my current kitchen counter is too, because it's temporary as well. So it's a whole temporary setup.
Right.
Because we have more work to do on that side of the house. And now I'm like, if I'm going to do an addition to this house, guess where it's going to be? Right there.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we didn't do the concrete countertops that I was talking about yet.
Right. I get it. Ugh.
Yeah.
Concrete countertops they're nice, but man,
You're not
they're
moving
not
them.
easy to pull. They're not easy to pull out. No,
No, you got to be dang sure you know where you want those. So
they are definitely not reusable.
No,
that comes out with a sledgehammer.
Yeah. Jack has those in his outdoor kitchen, and he put in one countertop, and it was that way for a long time. And then they built sort of a like an island a few years later, and I'm like, yeah, I would have waited to build that island too to make sure I really wanted that island there, because
yeah,
but it looks great.
Yeah, I like the old like butcher block style countertops, but they're a lot more maintenance.
You mean the Renegade Butcher likes butcher block counters?
No way. Yeah,
crazy.
They are really nice, but they're deceptively expensive too. If you ever had the really good like end grain cutting boards, heck, just a like a 3-foot long one, it's $400 or $500 from somebody who knows what they're doing to make them.
Check out Tennessee Butcher Blocks.
Mm-hmm.
Because they do custom sizes if they're still in business, which I assume they are, because I'm pretty sure I've seen them posting stuff. But yeah,
I'll have to look. But yeah,
I'm going to see if I can pull up their website while we're.
Yeah, I'll have to look. I've got 2 or 3 guys local that I've offered to make them before too, but it's always it's a lot. But I get it because it's all custom work. It's a lot of small glue work and everything. So I understand why they charge as much as they do. But oof.
Yeah, TennesseeButcherBlocks.com. This is one of our own guys. These are people from the network. Nice. They're in East Tennessee. And if you're coming to Self-Reliance Festival, you could go pick some up.
And Nicole's got an affiliate code, right?
No, I don't.
You should. Those guys should give you an affiliate code.
Well, they probably would if they do that. They did. They have mailed me. So full disclosure, I have an end cut cutting board that they sent me for free when they had a different name 5 years ago, and I still use it, and I absolutely love it.
Oh yeah. It's so much better than any other kind of cutting board you're going to use.
Yeah. And I know they can do custom sizes. So you just, if you wanted counters, you'd probably have to reach out to them.
Oh, yeah.
But their prices are not bad and their quality is really good. So like a board that's 24 by 24, that's 2 inches thick. That's $436 end cut.
That's
329 fair, inch and a half, right? Yep. 18 by 12, 129. And I don't know if that's free shipping. So let's see.
Mm-hmm.
If that's free shipping, that's really good. Because
that is really good. That's chunky.
But their prices never caused me to feel like, oh my gosh, they're so expensive. It's an end cut. It's like a different thing, right?
You need it to be that thick, chunky wood too, if you're going to do certain things with it. If you've ever tried to actually use like a real cleaver, not like a Chinese little chopping cleaver, but like I'm breaking bone cleaver.
Yeah.
You will split a regular cutting board, and you don't ever use that on one of the little thin, like flimsy plastic cutting boards. You'll just break that. But you need that thick. There's a reason they called it the chopping block. You had to have something meaty to chop against. So
so that doesn't include shipping, but you can choose different kinds of shipping.
Right.
So
nice.
But, yeah.
Or if you're going to Self-Reliance Festival, you could pick it up while you're there.
You'd have to talk to them about that.
Double check, but that would be the smart way to do it if you could arrange it.
Yeah, if you're driving through East Tennessee, absolutely.
Yeah. See, you should have them show up and put up like a whole vendor table. They should be selling.
They totally come be a vendor. It'd be great.
Yeah, there you go.
I should reach out to them about that. That's a great idea. More work. Yes.
Yes, more. You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Renegade.
That's what I'm here for.
The Renegade lights a fire under Nicole Sauce's butt.
I can't help it. I'm good at finding other people work to do.
Yeah, aren't we all? That's the way that works, right?
Yep, absolutely. Oh,
Backwoods Butcher says, always fun pulling splinters out of your meat. I don't know how you got splinters in your meat, Backwoods, but I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, right. I'm telling cutting board and old pallet are different things, Kyle. We're talking about high quality cutting boards here.
Yeah.
You're right. Another fire, not a fire, another fire, because you need more things to put on the back burner.
Yes. Okay, so what does the next 3 months look like for you? Any cool projects you're working on? Anything like that?
I need to get my seasoning act back together, get all that stuff up. I've got a few more types I need to get put up on the website, but I need to prep some seasoning to bring to SRF. I need to get my stuff figured out and exactly how I'm doing my transportation for out there. I'm pretty well got everything else lined up, but I need to get my plans there. And I'm also prepping for right when I get back from SRF is right in the deer season. Like it's actually technically archery season here. So it's I'll probably have to turn 2 or 3 people down. It won't be too bad. But within 2 weeks after, it's like it's opening day of gun season. It's going to be busy for about 3 months straight. So,
so do you just don't do speaking stuff during hunting season?
I won't even process people's domestic stuff or do classes or anything like that. I cut off pretty much everything with very few exceptions, except for doing wild because it keeps me busy about 80 hours a week.
Yeah, there's a Mennonite butcher out here who does during off hunting season, he does custom butchery for whatever. But he was like, you need your sheep processed during deer season. And he made how many? And I told him, and he was like, can it wait? And I'm like, they're getting on the long in the tooth side. And, so he was kind enough to make me an exception, but he did hang them in the same room as deer, which apparently bothers some people. That does not bother me. But yeah, and he did a good job. And I was like, I shall now time my sheep so we never do this again. And he said, thank you.
Most of the people who are my good customers, who are repeat people, who want to keep having me back for classes and stuff like that, they know. They like, nope, it's got to be done before October or you're not getting Josh until spring. It's just not going to happen. They figured it out. And I say no on the phone a lot during that time of year. I have to. There's just no way around it, I mean, I end up at a point every year where I have to turn away deer because I don't have space. So
yeah. No,
I made an exception the year before because they actually raised bison, and technically the way it was, it fell under wild game. It's a weird thing. It's every state by state. Yeah. But they wanted to get a bunch of sausage and stuff done, and I was like, all right, we're looking at like an $800 order here. So okay, cool. I will come.
Okay, I don't hate money.
Do you have a tractor? I'll come slaughter your bison, kind of thing. And we made it work. I mean, I had 3 like 6-foot ice chests full of bison meat that I brought back and everything. But it's got to be something. The year before, I was out of kind of in a bind with a smoker. I needed a new smoker. I needed something bigger. A guy had what I needed, and we did a trade, like a straight up trade. Like, I'll do 1 cow with you. Give me those 2 smokers. Yeah. So it's got to be a pretty good deal for me to squeeze something.
Okay, so here's
on average, I do 100 to 200 deer a year, and it's a lot of smoked sausage too. So
yeah. So if you and Backwoods Butcher are provided with a very big smoker,
okay,
do you want to run it? Because here's the thing, I probably can make a smoker appear. It runs off charcoal or wood. Okay. So it's like that kind. It's a trailer pull behind kind.
Okay. Like the horizontal.
But the person that I would have to ask, I probably doesn't want to stay up all night with a pig.
Ah, fair enough.
Because they probably want to be having fun.
I got you. So you're thinking like whole pig roast, or I actually probably
you do whatever you do. Yeah. I mean, otherwise, we do have people cooking meals there that if we need to connect them with pig meat, we could do that too. So,
yeah, I think the only thing that might need to be like an overnight is if we did something like bacon, but we're not going to have time to cure it. So, I mean,
you don't have time.
Yeah, I mean, but something like that, if we've got some way to be able to cook for a large amount, we might be able to do something like, hey, if everybody wants to buy a plate, there may be a chop or some pulled pork on your plate type deal. We're going to have a bunch of pork. We may as well find something to do with it.
Yeah.
It's
either that or we give it away on the charity giveaway thing. But then we got to freeze it somehow. And that's like, this is an outdoor venue. Like, we're going to have to talk about what we're doing about that.
We'll have to figure out what we're doing there. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. So, because the outdoors, obviously figuring out a place for slaughter, that's probably doable. If we're actually going to do any kind of a breakdown further in processing and involve some people in, I don't know if there's a kitchen available or something we can do that with. So we'd have to, we got to coordinate I don't want to
So,
say what we're doing exactly because I don't know. It's not my place.
yeah, so we're going to talk about that. So, guys, tomorrow at 7 p.m., also on this channel, hopefully on your channel too, and on the Self-Reliance Festival channel, we're going to get Backwoods and Renegade to start going head to head on what they're going to do. We're going to talk about that. So, this conversation about that situation is totally going to continue tomorrow at 7 p.m.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a lot to figure out, and it's time to start figuring it out because it's creeping up on us. So
so I have an ice cream freezer that if somebody moved it from here to there, it could be used. John Willis has a commercial kitchen, but it's not going to be something we could break. We can't fit people in there to watch what you're doing anyway.
Right.
And
that would be the main thing.
It's not set up for the scale of what you need to do.
Right.
It's just not. It doesn't have enough flat surfaces, and that would be not a good thing.
We'd have to have enough space to be able to at least break down a primal in the cuts and room for somebody to see what you're doing. And there's no point in trying to show people if it's not big enough to fit people in the room.
Yeah, you're going to be operating outside.
Right. I kind of
and we've done a pig there before. We've done one pig there before. I'll talk to John if the tractor is something that could be available for lifting things.
We need a tractor or a skid loader or some way to elevate. Yeah. Pigs is not nearly as much of a challenge as something like beef.
And then we're totally got to start this on Saturday morning so that there's time to.
Right. That's exactly. I was actually thinking we'll have to figure closer to then. I was thinking if I might come out a couple days earlier and just do a slaughter and chill, and then we can just pick it up from
that. Then that would actually be nice if we don't need to.
If we had it actually cooled a couple of days ahead of time, so we just got some, pork ready to go, string up
some halves or
breakdown, right?
Yeah.
Because as well as I do that you can't always guarantee everything's going to go super well right on slaughter. So you might be starting off. You just assume everything's going to go super smooth. You can't always time that the way you want to.
Yes. Yeah, we did. Billy Bond came out and we did a pork processing class a few times ago, and we slaughtered the pig there too, and it worked really well.
Yeah, good. And there's also a big difference, and I know that's a different thing too, because the way Kyle and I tend to operate versus the way, say, Billy Bond or Tiffany operate is they're doing more of a quick hot breakdown.
Yeah.
We typically specialize more on doing a chilled carcass breakdown.
Yeah.
I can do a hot breakdown, but cutting a hot animal versus cutting a cold animal, whole different ballgame. It's going to come out completely different. So I always like to try to teach people if you can chill it first and then learn from the breakdown. And then if you ever need to do it hot, you can get through it. You're going to hate it, but you can get through it.
Yeah.
I think it's easier for somebody who's learning what to do and to be able to keep it cleaner, to chill it and then work on a dissection at a time.
Yeah.
But not everybody has the facilities to do that.
Not everybody does. I actually use stock tanks with ice to chill pigs.
Stock tanks with ice does work pretty well. Yeah. If you actually ever have a deep freezer that's big enough to lay it down in, like an empty one, you can put a temp regulator on it and you can hold it just like a walk-in cooler. They work pretty good too.
Oh, I use my ice cream freezer for that too. I can fit a pig in there.
That works great.
And it'll chill quickly. Mm-hmm. But I butcher the larger animals in the winter unless I'm outsourcing to a facility that has a walk-in.
You have that. You have winter though. That's the problem. I don't get winter,
Yeah.
And when I do have winter, what we call winter, like we have 2 days where it might get down in the 20s, it's during deer season. So I'm not butchering anything. I'm cutting.
Yeah. No. Billy did a hot breakdown because we didn't have a good way to chill the pig, even though we did ice it.
Right.
But he was like, here's how you do this cut. Here's how this cut would go if this was an actual chilled animal. If you do it at home, chill the animal. He was. So I think when he does it at his house, he must do that properly.
Well, yeah. And that's the other thing. You're not worried about it. As if I'm cutting my own stuff, I don't care if it looks like a pretty chop. I know what it's going to taste like. But from a professional standpoint, when I'm doing it, I want it to look good. And it never looks good when you do it hot.
Yeah. It's like, this is my curvy steak cut.
Well, and then you also have the time of coming out of rigor mortis, which is usually not a big issue. But if you have beef, especially, it takes longer.
Yeah, that's
put that in the bag. You hot cut that. You put that in the backpack. Sure, they can freeze it, but that steak has no age on it until it's actually thawed out and sat in that bag a few days in the fridge.
What
So
I
then
do,
you have to educate the customer to take
yeah,
the
this is how
time.
you use it. What
Yep.
I do with deer is we quarter them,
Mm-hmm.
put them in my outside fridge, and then I go away for a week.
That's perfect.
Then I cut it up. I didn't used to do that. I used to do it the other way where I just got them like dealt with and into the freezer and then aged them on the way out. And I was like, look, hey, why don't we just do it this way?
Why don't we do it later?
And then
but it comes out
just
better,
comes straight out of the freezer and I can eat it.
it comes out better, honestly, if you ask
Yeah.
me.
The flavor of our venison was superior this year because I did it that way.
It has time for that meat to sort of dry out and actually, concentrate the flavor a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to go too long. You don't go longer than a week on a deer.
Yeah, it's 5 to 7 days that I do for venison, and other people swear like 14 minimum, and I'm like, it's going to start smelling like things I don't want to smell if I do that.
It better have a really good fat coverage. Like if it is a fat doe that's been eating like somebody's cornfield, you might get away with that, but you're going to lose a lot. I mean, it's going to be jerky on the outside otherwise. Down here, our deer are lean. We don't have highly fattened deer unless they came off of somebody's game ranch and they've been feeding the hell out of them. So
yeah, same here.
Yeah.
They're pretty lean and they're small.
And I grew up hunting them in Iowa. So, I mean, you're talking, it's a cow,
Yeah, that's different. I've heard about that. I haven't.
250-pound buck with like a half inch of fat on its back. I mean, we don't have that down here. First time I saw a deer, I took a seasonal job helping unload them from people's back of their truck. And I'm like, why are you guys shooting fawns? Like, that's a respectable doe. I'm like, that looks like a fawn you painted the spots.
Yeah.
That's the neighborhood dog. I don't know what you brought us.
Don't bring the neighborhood dog.
What kind of German Shepherd are you trying to get processed in the sausage? But yeah, I mean, down here, a 45, 50-pound doe is normal.
Yeah, that's normal here too. Or it could. I've seen them up to 75 to 100 here.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you'll get them that 2-3-year-old ones. Yep.
Yeah, but it's just. They're just smaller and leaner, and that's what I'm used to dealing with. And they taste really good. Like compared to the deer I got in Oregon, they taste really good. The deer in Oregon don't taste as good.
See, I've heard that because I think it's like the conifer forest. Must be what
they eat sagebrush and and conifers, and it impacts the flavor of the meat.
Yep.
And here that's like grass and berries. You know?
That's the same down here. Most of the time, I mean, I'm in the side of the state where we have forests and we have pastures. So the deer are eaten as well as the local beef.
Oh, Corey says the baby wild pork chops are the best.
We have so many wild pigs down here. The folks who have the place I do the deer processing on, they have the little shop they let me use for it, and they trap hogs out there because they feed deer, and they feed their cattle. The pigs out here, they'll just tear up pastures. So every fall we trap a bunch of them, and usually it's not hard to find somebody that wants to pay processing to get one done, get some sausage, because there's a lot of folks around that just don't want to go hunt. So we ended up with a bunch of just piglets that we're not going to let these things out. They need to get controlled.
Yeah,
so if they go in the trap, they get shot, whether they get used or not.
Yeah.
So I had probably about 40-pound piglets.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not getting rid of them. Nobody claimed them. So I took the whole pigs after, just whole piglets skinned. And I crammed them in buckets, filled them up with ham brine, and just cured them like bacon.
Oh, nice.
And I just smoked the whole things. And then cut them up. So I brought one over to Brian and Corey. So they had some little pork chops cut from the loin. They were like basically a little cured ham hot. Yeah. They're like, where can we get those? I'm like, when you trap a pig.
Yeah. Bring me piglets.
Bring me a pig and we'll make it happen.
Yeah.
Oh, you should have brought me that potbelly, guys. There was a potbelly hanging around their trailer when they were down here for a while. They just kept wondering, and nobody knew who it was.
I ate a potbelly. I ate more than one potbelly here. We had a stray potbelly move in, and Henry. Was it Henry? No, he had a different Harry or something. I can't remember what I called him.
Yeah.
And, I was feeding him a while, and then he bit somebody, and then he was gone the next week.
Oops.
Because you don't start biting people at my house.
Nope.
The ram who tried to charge somebody is also in the freezer.
I have the same.
I don't need that liability.
Same policy with roosters. It's like, you get 2 chances. If you don't learn the first time you try to spur me, the next time you're in the crock pot, we're done,
Yeah, we have reached the end.
Right. Yeah. I actually used to raise potbellies. I kind of miss having them around. I think if you have a small family, if it's 1-2 people or whatnot, there's probably nothing more sustainable out there. because most people don't have the room or want to raise a whole size hog, like a whole size market hog. It's a big animal. And then it's a lot to get processed. Something that's, 50,
150
60
pounds.
pounds. Yeah. Or even smaller. So what I did is I never even castrated males. I never even bothered. They would have a litter of like 12.
Yeah.
And and they don't eat much, because if you overfeed them, you probably knew they get fatty real quick.
They get really fatty. Yeah.
So you actually have to restrict feed a little bit on them. They don't take much space. I had a 10 by 10 dog kennel that I moved around with like 4 of the males in it, using it like a tractor. I would just move it every day or two when they were done rooting up the ground. So I did a whole garden section that way. It worked out really well. They're easy to contain, and they're usually pretty friendly. So when the males got big enough, they were about to start breeding their sisters, they went in the crock pot. Sometimes they were the size of just like a large rabbit in the crock pot.
Yeah.
And then I'd raise up the sows. If I saw 1 or 2 I wanted as a replacement sow, I'd keep them, and I'd just keep raising them. And I ended up probably with 500 pounds of pork a year off of like, I think 2 sows and a boar.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Really, worked out pretty good and very little work.
I did American guinea hog, but they were mixed with pot bellies, so they were mutts.
I wanted to actually breed my guinea hog boar to some of the pot bellies.
And that was really manageable here. And then I had Idaho pasture pig, and I bred her with a Duroc.
Okay.
And I ended up with really big pigs, and
Durocs
they tore everything up, and there are not pigs in the holler anymore.
Duroc is a whole different animal.
Tactical 6'4", and the shoulders of the Duroc came up to his waist.
They get 600-700 pounds as breeders. They're huge.
They get more than
massive.
That.
They can. Yeah, but on average, like I was thinking about having Durocs or like just blue butts or whatnot, just raising some market hogs and maybe selling some wieners and keeping 1 or 2 a year, until I looked at how expensive it is to keep a large breeding hog.
Yeah, they go through the feed.
Well, yeah, their body maintenance is like 5 to 10% of their weight per day.
Yeah.
So if you got a 500-pound pig, that's each pig's eating a 50-pound sack of feed daily.
Yeah.
You wonder why wiener pigs are so expensive.
That's why
they're paying for the parents to eat. So you pretty much have to have some other food source. You have to have something set up, some sort of excess dairy byproduct from something else you're doing to offset it if you're going to afford it.
Yeah.
So small breed pigs are underappreciated.
No, yeah, and my plan is to buy pigs from other people I know raising pigs from here on out.
That's what I do with beef. It's like
I do that with beef too. Yeah.
About once a year, there's somebody who, in exchange for my services of teaching a class, wants me to have a quarter of a beef.
And you're like,
I
yes,
have
please.
beef. And I'm like, well, I know I trust where it came from because I put the bullet in it.
Yeah.
Can't really ask for better. So yeah, for me, I could raise beef, but it'd be a lot of fencing work. And I'm not Kyle. Yeah. I don't enjoy it.
Right. Kyle.
Plus, there's the thing. You have cows, you have trouble. And if you're not home, they get out. And I'm not home a lot.
Yeah, our sheep don't get out much anymore, but it's a lot easier to catch the sheep if they get out. Okay, so we're rounding out the hour. I'm going to need to go here soon. .com Cowgirl asks, do you have any experience with the smaller Kune pigs in Texas?
I have not raised Kune in Texas myself. I do have some friends who have raised them, and they love them. Kune is going to be more of a pasture-raised pig, though, so you do have to be careful about giving them too much grain. The biggest mistake I see people do with Kunes is they get them, and then they want to treat them like a regular hog, and they're giving them just regular pig ration or corn or wheat supplement. Their biology is made to take any excess and put it in fat. Yeah. So they do very well on like low-calorie foods like pasture. And if they don't have enough pasture, you actually want to give them some good hay because they've kind of semi-adapted to having that roughage in their diet to be able to help process some things.
Yeah.
But you just want to be careful not to overgrain them. Watch them, and if they start looking like they're kind of obese, you start seeing rolls, back off on whatever you are giving them. But they do really well. They do. Kunes tend to handle hot climates well too, like Texas, because they're a Hawaiian breed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know people who raise them here and love them, and they tend to not root up as much.
And I know some people that do the Idaho or or whatever, Iowa and Idaho. There's two now pasture pigs, And I like the idea of them. I'm just not totally sold on them because they're a breed that comes from the north. That's why when I see people want to get into Mangalitzes in Texas, I'm like, it is a woolly sheep pig. We live in hell. What are you doing?
Yeah. And that's the interesting thing about livestock is choosing. Like the reason I don't do wool sheep, and everybody's like, "You're spinning. Are you going to do wool sheep?" Heck no, because
how much work it is.
Fly strike. Exactly. It's a lot of work, and the pest pressure here. We have a lady who spins wool near me, and she did wool sheep for 2 years. And I talked to the veterinarian, and the veterinarian's like, "Yeah, she stopped doing those because
the pest load built up.
Because the pest load, and like you just got to pump them full of stuff, and that's not my goal with an animal." So
right. If I have to work to keep the thing alive, it's why I stopped doing rabbits here in Texas. Because while I love it, and I think they're one of the best, most sustainable, small scale things you can do, I live where most of the time the air hurts my skin because it's hot, not because it's cold.
Right.
If it's above 80 degrees, a male rabbit goes sterile. Like I have 2 months of the year I could breed the things, and I'm not going to raise an animal. I have to keep it air conditioning.
Man, we got live shots out of our male over 80 degrees this year. I was surprised.
Really? Nice. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. But I mean, even the folks who pull them off down here, because there's guys who show rabbits and stuff, they've either got an air conditioned place or they've got huge barns with fans and stuff. And I was like, I'm not going to have a power bill for an animal just to keep it alive in a cage.
Yeah.
You know, it's too easy to raise something else. I could do ducks instead and have half the work.
Yeah. Totally makes sense. All right. Well, tell people how to follow your stuff, get involved with anything you're doing, and we'll sign off.
Absolutely. You can find me pretty much everywhere on social media as Renegade Butcher. I haven't put out a ton lately. I'm getting back on the wagon with that, but you can find everything at renegadebutcher.com or just email me, josh@renegadebutcher.com. Pretty easy. But yeah, check it out. I'm mostly doing stuff on Nostr. You can find me on Telegram over there. You can find the Liberty Meat Chat. That's a good group. It's kind of where you find all the people who hang out and follow the podcast and all the stuff we got going on. If you're looking at learning local stuff for you, as far as your meat goes. You can also find some of my seasonings. Sign up for that. Order anything that you find on the website at renegadebutcher.com and some cool merch. And then if you want to go to Self-Reliance Festival, be sure to check it out. That's coming up here in a couple months. And you can meet me and Kyle and Nicole and all the other awesome people you see on the show.
And Brian from the Lots Project.
Most of the comments section is probably going to be there.
Great. Well, I can't wait to talk to you again tomorrow night with Backwoods Butcher. We're going to have some fun. Josh, thanks so much for being on today.
No problem. We'll catch you all later.